MAGA Mike Johnson, the Republican Speaker of the House, is furiously working the phones right now, trying to avoid being fired. There is a vote on Friday, January 3rd, about who will be the Speaker of the House. MAGA Mike does not have the votes to be Speaker of the House as of now. There seems to be at least a dozen holdouts of Republicans who don't want MAGA Mike. Some are suggesting that these dozen holdouts are trying to extract promises and favors from MAGA Mike Johnson, who's notoriously known as being a pushover and very weak. Or it's possible that these individuals may just not vote for MAGA Mike during the first ballot, and there will be a protracted floor situation like we saw with the former MAGA Speaker of the House, spineless Kevin McCarthy, who was kicked out, fired, and then resigned. Aaron Frischner explains how CNN's reporting makes it sound pretty clear that Mike Johnson lacks the support of the 218 members required to win the Speaker's gavel on the first ballot tomorrow. I'll read you that reporting in a second, but it's clear that the MAGA base hates MAGA Mike Johnson. They don't think he's MAGA. They've been posting in response to Donald Trump's social media posts things like this: traitor, Democrats little bitch, Mike Johnson, pack your shit, retruth if you agree, a image of him that says fired, an AI image of MAGA Mike Johnson with tissues crying, an image of Mike Johnson that says it's not because they are weak, it's because they are compromised. I could show you hundreds of other images like that, but you get the point. Let's go and pull open what we are seeing right now, the latest reporting. Speaker Mike Johnson, this comes from Hallie Talbot, CNN. Speaker Mike Johnson is in the Capitol working the phones to shore up votes for tomorrow. His allies are preparing for the potential that the Speaker's race will go into multiple rounds, according to GOP sources, a scenario that could lead to a drawn-out floor fight, like we saw with Kevin McCarthy about a year ago. Sources say they could be forced to negotiate with GOP holdouts. Ultimately, many believe Johnson will prevail at some point on Friday. It's still possible that Johnson could win on the first ballot if he can limit GOP defections to just one. But the fact that Republicans are preparing for the potential for multiple rounds reflects the uncertainty in the vote and Johnson's slim margin of error. Here, just pull up this spreadsheet right here. You can see a number of the defections and the non-committals. We know MAGA Republican Representative Tom Massie is a definitive no. He's made it clear he will not be supporting MAGA Mike Johnson. Victoria Spars seems to be a no. Lauren Boebert has come out and said that she's not saying how she's going to vote, giving more indication that it's a no. We've even heard Marjorie Taylor Greene say that Elon Musk should be the Speaker of the House. Goes on to say here, GOP Representative Malliotakis told CNN's John Berman, quote, "I don't know if he has the votes right now, but I do believe that he will have the votes, and I'm not sure that it will be on the first round, but I do think that by tomorrow we'll have a speaker, and the speaker will be Mike Johnson." Malliotakis, who is voting for Johnson, said that Johnson has been working the phones as he works to win over potential holdouts. Now, the main thing that MAGA Mike Johnson is doing when he's working the phones, according to a more recent report by Elena Treen, is that he is saying, look, if you don't vote for me, it's going to delay the inauguration. And Daddy Donald Trump is going to be very mad at you little kiddies for not having a speaker in place in time. So that's kind of MAGA Mike Johnson resorting to kind of extortive tactics, saying, in order for there to certify the electoral count on January 6th, to certify the votes, you need a speaker. So if I'm not the speaker and we don't have a speaker, then Trump doesn't get certified on the 6th. The inauguration gets delayed. Therefore, that's the main reason why you have to make me the speaker. And that's why people suggest that Donald Trump has basically told Republicans to vote for MAGA Mike Johnson because Trump doesn't want his inauguration delayed and the certification of the electoral votes delayed, which would likely happen if MAGA Mike is not named the Speaker of the House on the 3rd, and there's a protracted, delayed fight like we saw with Kevin McCarthy. Now, Think about what I just read for you and contrast that, or compare it rather, because it's quite similar to the reporting about a year ago with Kevin McCarthy, when Kevin McCarthy was kicked out. Remember what Olivia Beavers reported? Told there were 2 separate and brief meetings with Kevin McCarthy not long ago on January 2nd, 2023, exactly a year ago. One was with his supporters, where he projected confidence he could win the speakership vote tomorrow, even as they braced for what could be a really long night. The other was with potential definite no votes. And then what happened to Kevin McCarthy? Bye-bye, Kevin, you got fired. Is Mike Johnson going to get fired? This from Axios. Mike Johnson faces a growing number of threats to his gavel. Detractors and skeptics of House Speaker Mike Johnson appear to be only digging in ahead of the House Speaker election on January 3rd. Why it matters. House GOP hardliners' continued hesitance to coalesce around Johnson suggests that Trump's endorsement of Johnson has had little effect so far. Johnson's right flank is incensed at him reaching across the aisle to Democrats on government spending and foreign aid. Some are arguing that the House GOP needs a more uncompromising leader coming into the new Trump administration. Representative Ralph Norman from South Carolina told Axios that, quote, a growing number of members want, quote, a minimum assurance from Johnson on meaningful cuts to spending before they vote to reelect him. But you see how Donald Trump doesn't make that all that easy for MAGA Mike Johnson? So they want cuts to spending, but Donald Trump wants MAGA Mike Johnson to get rid of the debt ceiling, totally abolish it, or to extend the debt ceiling vote to 2029. And now it's scheduled in the summer of 2025. So Donald Trump's about to go on the most reckless spending spree in American history. Like, we know that Trump's going to do that, right? I mean, economists have all said that Trump's plans, whether it's the tax cuts for the billionaires, bloody mass deportations, you name it, is going to cost trillions of dollars. There's no way to pay for it. So in Trump administration 1, he incurred $8 trillion in debt. Oh, the fiscally responsible party, $8 trillion in debt, the most ever. And now economists expect that to be double. I expect it to be triple or quadruple. I think it'll be closer to $30 trillion in debt with this crew right here. But it's interesting, less spending when Donald Trump's like, we need to do all of these things. That's going to bring us more in debt. Representative Lauren Boebert from Colorado is now the latest detractor, with her office now declining to comment about the vote. Johnson is set to have a 219 to 215 majority when the House reconvenes on January 3rd, assuming full attendance from both sides. That means he will only be able to afford a single Republican voting for an alternative candidate, and Representative Thomas Massie from Kentucky has promised to be that Republican, meaning Johnson has virtually no room for additional defections from his side. Henry Rosenberg here seems to hit the nail on the head when he goes, so Trump is saying he supports Mike Johnson for speaker now. You want to know why? It's because if there's a prolonged fight over the speaker, the electoral votes cannot be counted, and it puts Trump's inauguration in peril. You can bet as soon as he's sworn in, he will push to dump MAGA Mike Johnson. I think we know that to be the case. Let me just show you what Thomas Massie, one of MAGA Mike Johnson's biggest detractors, has to say. So Newt Gingrich, Trump propagandist, Fox host, former speaker, goes, I do not understand what the contrarian House Republicans think they will gain by opposing Speaker Mike Johnson. They have no one who can get more votes, and they risk crippling Trump's electoral win on January 6th. They are, in effect, allies of the Democrats. So Thomas Massie, who hates MAGA Mike Johnson, goes, challenge accepted. First, let me note that the vote for Mike camp is not trying to make the case that Mike Johnson is endowed with the qualities necessary to lead our conference. Even you have limited yourself here to procedural justifications for his speakership rather than telling us why he is a good, capable leader. Even if Mike's entire goal is to do everything Trump wants without debate or question, which I would argue is not healthy for the institution of Congress, he's not going to be good at it. He's already demonstrated this month that he won't tell the president what is achievable and what is not achievable in the House, and he lacks the situational awareness himself to know what can pass and what cannot. So what do we hope to gain? A competent speaker who has the will and the ability to capitalize on this once-in-a-decade opportunity. Johnson is not up for the task. Also, we want a speaker who inspires the public and who can make our case in the media so we can keep the majority for the second half of Trump's term. Johnson nearly led us to the minority in what was a banner year for Trump. He is certain to lose us the majority in 2026. 2, no one can get more votes. It's somewhat ridiculous to assert that Mike Johnson is the only member of Congress electable to Speaker. He was only electable the first time because he hadn't held any type of leadership position, nor had he ever fought for anything, so no one disliked him, and everyone was tired of voting. He won by being the least objectionable candidate, and he no longer possesses that title. 3, risks crippling Trump's win. This argument is a scare tactic meant to stampede the masses, plain and simple. There is no legal or parliamentary argument for nullifying the national election if a speaker is not in place on January 6th, though it would certainly delay it. 4, they are allies of the Democrats. Actually, it is Mike Johnson who routinely passes major legislation, Ukraine, omnibus, FISA, spying, with only a minority of Republicans and relying on most Democrats. He also owes his current speakership to the Democrats. Here's the roll call for the motion to table the motion to vacate last summer. Pelosi's and Jeffries teamed up to save Johnson. In closing, the emperor has no clothes, and the entire conference knows it, but a few will say it. The general public knows it too. Please don't shoot the messenger. So we'll keep you posted with all the updates on Mike Johnson, but I wanted to arm you with the data ahead of the vote. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 4 million subscribers, and thanks for watching.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Meidas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.